So this next activity, again, we have a lot of lead-ins, don't we?
We do. Well, the activity is tied to something that we want them to reflect on. So that's
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
it.
So this is we talk about this as the illusion of knowledge, right? And the illusion of knowledge simply it manifests itself in a number of different ways. Right? So one is that people think they know more than they actually do, which is referred to as the Dunning and Kruger effect, right? So incompetent people they can't recognize their incompetence, so they actually think they're more competent than they do. The shadow side or the flip side of the Dunning and Kruger effect is the imposter syndrome, that people typically think that I must, because everyone else isn't getting this, I must not be as smart as I think that I am, right? And so those are illusions of knowledge. And so we invite people to kind of challenge their own illusions of knowledge. And one way is by looking at the bus and deciding which way the bus is going. Typically, young people under the age of 7 get this correct all the time. And did you see why they did that? Did you see that in the video?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so there's a video that we'll make available to you that you can use if you have time. But most young people say that the bus is moving to the left because they ride the school bus, and that's where the door is, right on the other side. And so
Nice.
those of us who don't ride the bus very often would not necessarily recognize which direction that goes, right? So we assume we know things, when in fact we don't, which is how we get to the bicycle exercise.
Right. And with the bicycle exercise, we ask people to, how many of you have ridden a bicycle, know what a bicycle looks like. And so please take a minute to sketch that out in that section. And that once they do, we ask them to look at it and see what they think is missing, look at one another's bicycle and see what they think is missing. And often you'd find people forget to put handlebars or pedals or even a seat.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to think, oh, I know how to ride a bicycle. I know what a bicycle looks like. But when it actually comes down to it, do I know how to draw that out and what it requires to run a proper bicycle?
Yeah.
And you have an awesome video on this too, if you want to use that, around a company that did this exercise and then built the bicycles the way they were sketched and had the person who did the drawing try to ride the bicycle, and only one person actually got that right.
Yeah.
So it was a really fun video to watch too.
Yeah, so we'll make sure that that's attached to this as an ancillary or additional piece, particularly if you're doing a longer session, right? But the real takeaway about this is that we have to challenge our assumptions, right? Our illusion of knowledge. And so that's where the unconscious bias and stereotype threat pieces come in. And when we start talking about the 3 stories, so there's William, there's Jane, and there is Katie. And each of their stories have some nuances around this, either the approach that people have had making this this acknowledgement of the illusion of knowledge, or addressing this unconscious bias. And so we'd like to use this activity to really start talking about how do we challenge and address our unconscious bias.
So when you walk into any situation and you assume you know stuff, you might not actually know it. And that's where these exercises come in to say, I think I know it, but this is how I'm going to ask questions and